It's time for Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock.
Welcome back to Declare Your Independence with me, Ernest Hancock, here each and every day on the LRN.FM network. You know, I'm really excited. I've been just on pins and needles ever since I got for Christmas the book Rocketeer. Now, the author, Michael Before, is with us, and I'm so glad that you had the time to come and talk to us because you're still involved in the private space race. You're in contact with these guys. You help hook me up with some phone numbers and everything and people that we can talk to, and I know a lot of people, they want to go. And some of them got some money, so they're going to go. So I just, tell me about the commercialization of this. Has there been a lot of, and we'll get back to the engine and so on, but I mean, just real quick, is there a demand? Is there a pent-up demand to go to space and people with money that are willing to part with it to be able to go?
Oh, there's absolutely a demand. That was the big wild card with all this. We can prove that private industry can get to space without huge government backing, but if we build it, will they come? That was the the naysayers always have some stumbling block. First it's private enterprise can never do this, and then it's like if we build it, they'll never come. And, we've done suborbital flight. That was easy. Now they'll never get to orbit. One by one these things have been demolished, and one of the biggest is there a market demand for this? And there are a lot of people out there. Right now, you can buy a ticket on Spaceship Two through Virgin Galactic for $200,000, and that's just the first generation of suborbital tourism, and that price is going to keep dropping as they build more vehicles and competition gets into play.
Now, the graphic I have up now is a picture of Spaceship One and Burt Rutan there. Now, his whole thing, of course, he wants to go, and he's become like a Boeing. I mean, he's manufacturing the airframe, a fleet for Richard Branson of Virgin Galactic now, which is, a big promoter guy, man. He's like, ooh, we're going to have some fun with this. And I hear tell that he's going to be in the first flight going up. I mean, if that's an endorsement of the safety.
That's what they want, yeah. Branson, his mom, who's, elderly by now, his kids, Branson's kids, Burt Rutan wants to go up. And, I believe they will. They're dreamers in the best sense of the word, and they're going to blaze the way. And it's just going to be tremendously exciting. When people actually see other people going up who aren't government employees on a regular basis, I think people will get excited about space again. You mentioned before the break. Well, most people have never heard of the Bigelow space stations, the test modules that are up there right now in orbit, and the big size ones that are being built now. It's because people have kind of lost interest in space. They've gotten used to the idea that, space is just a bunch of government employees flying in circles around planet Earth.
I don't believe that. I do not believe that for a second. It is, I will get the lamestream media, the media that's so last century, telling me about every single weather delay of the space shuttle, but I don't hear a word about there's 2 private space stations up there right not later.
Here's another example of that. Okay, so just last month, SpaceX, Space Exploration Technologies, their orbital company, going all the way to low Earth orbit, well, they for the first time, they sent a space capsule big enough for 7 astronauts. It's America's first space capsule design since Apollo. They successfully put this thing into orbit, orbited it for 2 turns around the Earth, and brought it back within half a mile of its target. And during the countdown, they found a crack in the second stage rocket nozzle. And if this had been a NASA mission, chances are they would have had to scrub the whole thing. They would have had to roll that thing back into the hangar. They would have had to, endlessly go over paperwork, figure out, okay, when's our next launch window. Instead, because this was a private venture that didn't need all that kind of BS dragging it down, they just sent a guy out from their headquarters out near Los Angeles, flew him out to Cape Canaveral. The guy looked at it and goes, yep, all we need to do is shave off a few inches off this nozzle and we're good to go again. And they went up. They did it.
What I'm showing now is the 9 Merlin engine. The reason they call it that, this is interesting. This is Elon Musk, which is the PayPal. That's where he made his money.
Right.
So he goes, I'm going to space. I did PayPal so I can go to space. That's what this is all about. No, I wasn't even having it on there. Let me go ahead and show this. I was sitting there showing me. Okay, now this is the spaceship engine mount of the 9 Merlin engines. Now, what they do is that they had to test the one. I mean, that was Falcon 1 that they eventually, because they had, the Navy is going to launch, on another pad way over. Well, you can't launch because we're going to launch and we got delays, so you got to wait. And they screw it, man. They put it on a barge or whatever and take it out to some Pacific island. And I remember when they did this a year and a half or so ago, or 2 years, we ran that on Freedom's Phoenix Live, that launch. And 10, 9, 8, and we're going, ooh, and then it had a malfunction on one of the coupling things and so on, and they got that fixed. And then now that they got the engine designed, they're going, okay, we put 9 of these together. Guess what? We're going to the moon, okay? So I'm going, all right, now they have this engine. Tell us about the development of that engine. The cost would have been astronomical. All of the problems, all of the ouch quit it paperwork and stuff, and so they bypassed that, and now, man, they rocket sledded into having a rocket engine. So go ahead and tell us the early development of that, Merlin.
Just, to put it in perspective, each space shuttle flight is now up to about $1.5 billion. That's just for one flight. That's not developing a vehicle. It's nothing. It's just flying the same one. Whereas SpaceX went from just total blank slate, literally the prototype for the Merlin engine started out in the propulsion chief's garage. This guy named Tom Mueller, who was working with a bunch of amateurs out in Mojave while he was working at a defense contractor during the day. And Elon Musk, who wanted to start a rocket company, found him. Literally just walked into the garage one day and said, hey, can you build me one of these bigger? They went from that to filling an empty warehouse, clean design, build prototypes, test them out. They have a test facility out in Texas, flying those early missions with just the one engine, working out the kinks, all the way through last month, orbiting America's first space capsule since Apollo to a perfect test flight, absolutely flawless. They did all that for about $800 million. So $800 million for all that versus $1.5 billion for one space shuttle launch.
At Neon Flag, there was one story in your book I thought was very instructive. When you're talking about the shuttle, and they eventually decided on solid rocket boosters, during that time, there was a team that was looking for other alternatives, and they came up with it was liquid methane and oxygen, I think it was liquid oxygen, that would be a third the weight, a third the size, and, I don't know if they could have had it reusable, but it was a lot cheaper, a lot better, have more payload and everything. They just didn't want it. Nope. We got this, big company over, and they kept reducing their price and doing because they can. It was a political decision.
Yeah, and that's how NASA came into being. To get to the moon was going to be a huge undertaking, and it was kind of a smart way to do it. They spread the risk out across a whole bunch of different states and companies. So NASA has all these centers all over the country and all these different contractors all over the country. So it would be really hard to kill the moon program because you'd have to kill all of those centers and all of those contractors individually. And so that's what got the moon program done. But now we're left with this legacy of this enormous bureaucracy and lots of money going to lots of different constituencies. And it's just probably going to be just about impossible to dismantle that thing. So,
okay, in just a couple of minutes that we got here, we have just a real fast discussion here. This is, from in your mindset is that, well, it took a country. It took the inspiration of JFK and money and NASA, and we're going to collectivize it. And the goal, of course, was political in opposition to the Soviet Union and Soyuz and everything. And when we come back, I'll let you respond. But, I'm of the opinion I would be flying around in my Jetson car right freaking now if it wasn't for government sapping all the resources and the mind and innovation and just the intellectual curiosity of the people into the service of government. Just get them out of I don't even want them there. And we'll get a response from Michael when we come back here in just a little bit on Declare Your Independence.